Welcome inside the Mountain West Network studio. Ted Sundquist, Mountain West football analyst, and Jesse Kurtz here to break down Week 7 inside the Mountain West. We're going to talk about 4 conference games, all played on Saturday. First, let's start with San Jose State at Colorado State. The Spartans got a big win over Hawaii. They beat them 37-27. Colorado State is idle. What we saw from San Jose State is something that we've been waiting to see against Hawaii. Scored 31 straight points, 550 yards of offense. This is what we've been waiting for. Why did it take so long?
You know, I tell you what, Jesse, I think the big difference in this game compared to the last 3 games, which were all losses, was the balance in the Spartan offense. This time they were able to get 216 yards rushing on 55 attempts. Spartans got behind Tim Crowley, 21 attempts for 93 yards. Jared Lawson, 89 yards on 12 carries. And Thomas Tucker added 48 yards. Running back by committee seemed to work a little bit better for him than with leading rusher Jason Simpson, who was out for the game. Lawson's 39-yard touchdown rush, I thought, in the second quarter capped a 17 unanswered point run for them and really gave the Spartans some impetus there with 27-14 lead, not having to play from behind. So I think balance in the last game really helped San Jose State out on the offensive side of the ball.
Talk about offensive firepower. The last time we saw Colorado State, all they did was score 59 points, the most in 16 years. Garrett Grayson really came out of his shell, threw for 307 yards and 3 touchdowns. How much has he matured from when he took over last season to what we saw the last time the Rams were on the field?
Yeah, it's interesting because I thought his development was stunted a little bit last year with the injury. He tried to come back, it didn't end up working out. But when you look at his numbers this year, they're remarkably similar to the same amount of play time from last year in completion percentage, in touchdowns, in his overall rating, in his yards per attempt. But what you see is poise, and poise comes with confidence, and this is a confident young quarterback for the Rams right now. The last 3 games, he's throwing over 60% in completion percentage, finding the open receiver. He's not forcing the ball. He hasn't had an interception since those 2 against Tulsa, and he's converting down in the red zone. So really his maturity has come with poise on the field and just letting his playmakers make the play, distributing the ball around.
Has been home sweet home for the Rams as of late. They've won 5 straight at Hughes Stadium. The last time they won 6 straight, 2001-2002. Kickoff for the Spartans and the Rams, 1:30 Mountain Time. That'll be televised by CBS Sports. Moving on to New Mexico at Wyoming. New Mexico, they beat New Mexico State pretty handily, 66-17. They're now 2-3 on the year. Wyoming, they were idle. They're now 3-2 on the season. The Lobos' rushing attack was absolutely dominant as a unit. It wasn't just the Casey Carrier show, as it maybe has been with that triple option offense. 5 different Lobos scored on the ground. Carrier scored 3 of those. If they can get multiple guys involved in the option, this could be one dangerous offense.
Yeah, it really could be. When all cylinders are in sync, and you talked about it with a number of people contributing last week against New Mexico State, it is a dangerous offensive attack, and it really puts a lot of pressure on the defense. They don't know whether to attack inside, try to take the belly play, go after the quarterback, or go up the alley and take the pitch. And again, it forces the defense to have to play very, very disciplined. And New Mexico right now, surprisingly, is a team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Not a lot of penalties, not a lot of turnovers. So when they are rolling with that option offense, they are hard to stop.
Wyoming was rolling until the last time we saw them play a football game against Texas State, a very disappointing loss. How do the Cowboys, with that week off, you take a deep breath, how do they put that behind them and dial in for it was a pretty important conference game?
Yeah, it really was. You know, that major rain delay that they had 3 hours there, they did not respond very well to that, and the Bobcats did, and they came out and were able to run for 256 yards and 5 touchdowns on that Cowboy defense. And now they've got to slow down the Lobos, whose option is rushed for 396 yards against them last season, to get their own big play attack back on track. I think that's the answer. They were held to 22 minutes of time of possession, and New Mexico will push that. They like to hold on to the football. What Brett Smith and those guys are going to have to do is really play their game. They got 3 winnable games coming up on the schedule here. They're home versus New Mexico. They got Colorado State, then they go on to San Jose State before they get back against Fresno and Boise. They got to get some confidence going, and it starts with New Mexico this week.
Be a big one for the Cowboys in Laramie. Wyoming has won 2 straight in this series and 3 of the last 4. Kickoff 1:30 Mountain Time. That'll be televised by Root Sports and then also streamed on the Mountain West Network outside of the Rocky Mountain footprint. Moving on to Hawaii and UNLV. Hawaii still winless. They're 0-5 on the season. UNLV 3-2. We'll talk about UNLV here in a second, who is idle. Let's talk about Hawaii. And their quarterback, Sean Schrader, continues to impress, threw for 342 yards in that loss. He had 11 different receivers. He's doing a great job in his about what amounts to a game and a half to get everybody involved in the offense.
Yeah, he really has, and he's thrown at about a 60% completion clip. And you look at his yards per attempt last year as compared to this year, almost 2.5 yards more per completion than last year. But he still needs, I think, to buckle down on third downs right now and keep those chains moving. The Rainbows have really struggled in third down conversions. They're finding themselves in catch-up mode a lot in the second half and having to throw. But he's really been much more efficient, like you said, in spreading the ball around, letting his playmakers make the plays and not forcing his throws. If he can do that, it keeps the mistakes down, it keeps them close, and gives them an opportunity in the second half.
UNLV was off last week, and if there's one team who probably didn't want to take a week off, it'd be the Rebels, riding a 3-game win streak. If they were to get a win this week, this would be remarkable. They're 2 wins shy of bowl eligibility in that 6-win mark, which would be huge in Las Vegas. How confident is this team playing right now?
I'll tell you what, the last 3 seasons have been really tough on Bobby Hauck, with the reputation that he brought from Montana and trying to convey that winning culture to UNLV. But it appears to me now the message is finally getting across. And they've won their last 3 in a remarkable number of different ways. They were down 21 versus Central Michigan, came back in the second half. They soundly beat a Western Illinois team that they were much better than, and they needed to win that game convincingly. They did. And then they get in a shootout in the fourth quarter, tied at 42 going into the fourth against the Lobos, and they end up beating them 14-0 in that fourth quarter. They are winning in various ways, and that builds confidence. I tell you what, I saw that Central Michigan game, and I thought that team, the way they played, had the ability come the end of the season to be a bowl team, and now all they got to do is just go out and do it.
I'll vouch for you. He did say it right here about 3 weeks ago. This team could be 4-2 heading into a showdown with Fresno State. We'll find out if that happens with a win over Hawaii. The Rebels doing it with balance, 22 touchdowns, 11 on the ground, 11 through the air. That's pretty impressive.
It's been a lot of fun to watch.
5 o'clock kickoff time, Pacific time. Oceanic pay-per-view will have your television coverage. That will also be streamed on the Mountain West Network. Finally, let's talk about Boise State and Utah State. Boise State was idle, though 3-2 on the season. Utah State lost to BYU 31-14, 3-3. But that really is a side note to really what happened with Utah State. Devastating blow. Chucky Keaton, the do-it-all quarterback, a Heisman candidate, tore his ACL and MCL. He'll have surgery done for the season. Matt Wells, the head coach, said, we're going to find out why this is the ultimate team game here going forward. How does this team go ahead in the second half of the season without their unquestioned leader?
Well, in college football, I think the responsibility of leadership goes on to the senior class, not necessarily the quarterback like it does in the NFL, but to those seniors. And Chucky was a junior. He'll be replaced by a junior as well, but Craig Harrison. The offense has got to look towards players like Travis Reynolds, Travis Van Leeuwen, the wide receivers, Joey DiMartino at running back, and the rest of that offensive line. If those guys can rally around Craig Harrison and give him the confidence and give him the support that he needs, good things will happen for the Aggies down the road, and they'll have an opportunity there to make a run at a bowl game. If not, and it's all on the defense, it's going to be tough here in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Here at the Mountain West Conference, we want to extend our well wishes and get better soon to Chucky Keaton, who certainly has been one of the most exciting players in the country this year. Boise State off last week. I'm sure ball security, especially in the red zone, which has been a problem, I bet you that was a focus all week, and that has to be a focus going forward.
Yeah, no doubt Coach Peterson really concentrated on that this past week. The Broncos, surprisingly, 8th in the red zone offense, 7th in touchdown percentage, and that's not very reflective of what we're used to seeing out of a Boise State offensive attack. Fumble and interception against Fresno State down in that red zone cost them in a very close game, 41-40, ended up being a loss. Utah State has one of the better defenses in the red zone, number 2, and then down the road, we keep talking about this game against Wyoming, number 1 in the red zone. So yes, Boise State's going to have to pick it up when they get those opportunities down there, because those are also explosive offensive teams that will take very good opportunity to their own chances down the red zone.
Got to get it done inside the 20, and you have to get it done on the road in college football. Boise State right now winless on the road, 0-2 with losses to Washington and to Fresno State. Kickoff for Boise State and Utah State, 6 o'clock. It'll be televised by CBS Sports Network. Inside the Mountain West Conference, 2 teams who will not be playing because of a bye week, Fresno State and Nevada. For Ted Sundquist, I'm Jesse Kurtz. Thanks for logging on to the Mountain West Network.